The Void's Rest was not a nice bar. It sat on the edge of Talaxis Prime, a moon where nobody asked questions and everyone had something to hide. The lights were dim, casting shadows across tables filled with criminals, smugglers, and mercenaries from a dozen different species. The air smelled like alien sweat and cheap alcohol. Hyunwoo wiped down the bar counter for the third time that hour. He was a quiet man, always had been. Average height for a human. Dark hair kept short and eyes that seemed to notice everything while revealing nothing. He had been working at this bar for 6 months now. The owner never asked where he came from and Hyunwoo never told him. That was how things worked out here on the frontier. The door slid open with a hiss and a group of mercenaries walked in. They were loud, fresh from a successful job, with credits burning holes in their pockets. Leading them was Vralketh, a Crithian who stood nearly 8 feet tall. His scales were dark green and he had 4 arms that ended in clawed hands. Across the sector, people knew him as the Earthbreaker. He had earned that name, or so he claimed, from a job on the most dangerous planet in known space. Earth. Bartender. Vralketh's voice boomed across the room. Your strongest drink. And keep them coming. Hyunwoo nodded once and reached for a bottle of Zenthari whiskey. It was strong enough to melt plastic. He poured a generous amount into a reinforced glass and slid it across the bar. Vralketh caught it with one hand and downed it in a single gulp. Another, the mercenary shouted, slamming the glass down. In the corner of the bar, a young woman sat alone at a small table. Her name was Ji-Hai, and she was human like Hyunwoo, though most people in the bar did not know it. She wore clothes that hid her features and kept her face partially shadowed. She was an information broker, someone who collected secrets and sold them to the highest bidder. Her eyes flicked between Vralketh and Hyunwoo. She knew who the bartender really was. She had made it her business to know. Vralketh was on his 4th drink now and his voice was getting louder. His crew gathered around him and soon other patrons were listening too. Everyone loved a good story, especially one about surviving impossible odds. You want to know about a real death world? Vralketh said, his tongue loosening with the alcohol. Forget the poison swamps of Vexar 6. Forget the radiation storms of Kelos. I survived 3 months on Earth. The bar went quiet. Earth was legendary. Most species considered it forbidden territory, a planet so hostile that even landing there was considered suicide. The gravity alone could crush smaller species. The atmosphere was corrosive to many life forms. And the wildlife. Stories about Earth's wildlife kept young aliens awake at night. But the most dangerous thing on Earth was not the wildlife. It was the humans. Earth, Vralketh continued, his forearms gesturing wildly. They call it a paradise world, but that is a human lie. The gravity is crushing. Every breath of air burns your lungs. The temperature swings from freezing to boiling. And the creatures that live there, they have teeth and claws and venom. Everything on that cursed rock wants to kill you. His crew nodded along, though some of them looked uncomfortable. One of them, a smaller Crithian named Drek, glanced toward the bartender. Hyunwoo was still wiping glasses, his face showing nothing. But the worst part, Vralketh said, leaning forward like he was sharing a secret, is the humans themselves. Savage creatures, barely sentient. They fight with primitive weapons, but they fight like cornered animals. No honor, no mercy, just violence. Hyunwoo's hand tightened slightly on the glass he was holding. It was a small movement, barely noticeable. But Ji-Hai saw it. She tensed in her seat. I lost half my crew on that mission, Vralketh continued. We were hired to acquire some resources from a human settlement. Simple job, or so we thought. But these humans, they fought back. With tools, with farm equipment, with their bare hands. It was insane. Other patrons were leaning in now, fascinated and horrified. An insectoid trader clicked its mandibles nervously. A Vex merchant quietly stood up and left the bar without finishing his drink. One human, Vralketh said with a laugh that sounded cruel. One pathetic human tried to fight us with some kind of cutting tool. A worker's device, not even a weapon. He stood in front of a building, would not move. We gave him a chance to run. He refused. So we put him down like the animal he was. Hyunwoo set down the glass very carefully. Too carefully. His jaw was tight. The funny thing, Vralketh continued, too drunk to notice the change in atmosphere, is that humans can survive injuries that would kill any civilized species. This one took 3 shots before he finally dropped. And even then, even dying, he was trying to crawl forward, protecting something behind him. Children, I think. As if that mattered. The mercenary laughed again and gestured for another drink. Hyunwoo poured it, his movements mechanical. We took everything of value from that settlement, Vralketh said. Let the survivors watch. Wanted them to remember what happens when you resist. The place was called... What was it, Drek? New Busan Station, boss, the smaller Krithian said quietly. He was watching the bartender now, his eyes wide. Right, New Busan, outer rim territory barely defended. Easy credits. Vralketh raised his glass. To surviving Earth. The death world. His crew raised their glasses, but their enthusiasm was fading. Something was wrong. The air in the bar felt heavy, dangerous. Hyunwoo stopped moving. He stood completely still behind the bar, staring at nothing. His hands were flat on the counter. In the corner, Jihee slowly shook her head, a warning. Do not do this, not here. Not now, but Hyunwoo's eyes had changed. They were no longer neutral, no longer calm. They were cold and hard like chips of ice. New Busan Station, he said quietly. His voice was soft, but it carried across the bar. 3 months ago, you killed 27 colonists. Vralketh blinked, confused. What? How would a bartender know? The man who died protecting the children. Hyunwoo continued in that same quiet voice. His name was Park Tae-sung. He was a farmer. He used a plasma cutter as a weapon because it was all he had. The bar was completely silent now. Every eye was on Hyunwoo. He was 34 years old, the bartender said. He had a wife and 2 children. He died on his knees, still trying to reach them. Vralketh stared at him. Who are you? Hyunwoo reached for the apron tied around his waist and slowly removed it. Underneath, he wore a simple shirt. On his forearm, partially visible now, was a faded tattoo. Military markings. The symbol of the Terran Shock Divisions. Jihee stood up from her table and backed toward the exit. Several other patrons followed her lead. They knew what was coming. I am from Earth, Hyunwoo said simply. Vralketh's scales went pale. His 4 hands trembled. His crew members stumbled backward, reaching for weapons. The mercenary who had bragged about surviving Earth suddenly realized he had made a terrible mistake. He was not looking at a bartender anymore. He was looking at one of the humans he had mocked. One of the survivors of the death world. One of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. And this human was not happy. The silence in the bar stretched like a taut wire ready to snap. Vralketh stared at Hyunwoo, his brain struggling to process what was happening. The bartender he had barely noticed was human. From Earth, the death world, the planet Vralketh had just spent the last hour bragging about surviving. You are... Vralketh stammered. Human. Hyunwoo finished for him. Yes. The mercenaries' crew was backing away now, spreading out around the bar. Their hands were on their weapons, but nobody was drawing yet. They were professional killers, and professionals knew when a situation was dangerous. This situation felt very dangerous. Look, Vralketh said, trying to recover his composure. I did not know you were from Earth, no offense intended. It was just a story. Just talk, Hyunwoo repeated. His voice was still quiet, but there was something underneath it now. Something cold. You raided New Busan Station. You killed civilians, farmers, families, and you call it just talk. Drek, the smaller Krithian, tugged on his boss's arm. Boss, we should go, now. Vralketh shook him off. He was a mercenary leader, known across 3 sectors. He could not lose face in front of his crew, in front of all these witnesses. His pride would not let him walk away from a single human, even if that human was from Earth. I was hired for a job, Vralketh said, his voice growing defensive. The colony had resources. My client wanted them. That is how the frontier works. You think you are special because you are human? This is business, Hyunwoo said. The word sounded wrong in his mouth like poison. You murdered farmers for business. They resisted, Vralketh snapped. They could have just given us what we wanted. But no, they had to fight. That farmer, Tae-sung whatever his name was, he could have lived. He could have stepped aside. But he chose to die. That is not my fault. Hyunwoo's hands curled into fists on the bar counter. He was protecting his family. Then he was a fool, Vralketh said. And fools die on the frontier. That is reality. You want to be angry? Be angry at him for not being smart enough to survive. Around the bar, the few remaining patrons were either leaving or trying to make themselves very small. An insectoid trader had wedged itself under a table. A Vex merchant was pressed flat against the far wall, trying to edge toward the exit. Jihai had not left yet. She sat back down at her table, but her hand was inside her jacket, touching a small recording device. Her fingers moved quickly, tapping commands. The device was now broadcasting everything to her network. What happened next would be seen by thousands across the sector within hours. New Busan Station, Hyunwoo said slowly, was an agricultural colony. 400 people. Most of them were families who just wanted to farm in peace. They had no military, no weapons, no defenses. Exactly, Vralketh said, missing the point entirely. Easy job. In and out. We took the stored grain, the medical supplies, some equipment, left them alive, most of them. We could have killed everyone. We showed mercy. Mercy, Hyunwoo repeated. The word hung in the air like an accusation. 27 people died that day, Hyunwoo continued. 14 men, 8 women, 5 children. Vralketh waved a dismissive hand. Acceptable casualties. They fought back. What did they expect? One of the women you killed was named Kim Soo-jin, Hyunwoo said. His voice was still quiet, but each word was precise, deliberate. She was a doctor. She was trying to evacuate the medical center when your crew shot her. She was carrying a 4-year-old boy. I do not remember every... Vralketh started. Lee Min-ho, Hyunwoo cut him off. 62 years old. Retired teacher. He tried to stop your crew from taking food from the children's center. You shot him in the back while he was running away. Vralketh's scales rippled with annoyance. Why do you know all these names? Were you there? Are you one of the survivors? No, Hyunwoo said. I was not there. Then why do you care? Vralketh demanded. This is the frontier. Bad things happen every day. You cannot save everyone. You cannot avenge every dead colonist. Park Tae-sung. Hyunwoo continued as if Vralketh had not spoken. The farmer with the plasma cutter. The one you laughed about. The one who would not move. Do you know why he would not move? Vralketh said nothing. He was standing in front of the colony school, Hyunwoo said. There were 43 children inside. His daughter was one of them. His son was another. He knew he could not win. He knew he was going to die. He fought anyway because every second he delayed you was another second for those children to hide. The bartender's knuckles were white where his fists pressed against the counter. His wife. Park Hye-jin was my sister, Hyunwoo said finally. The bar seemed to freeze. Even the air recyclers seemed to stop humming. Your sister, Vralketh said slowly. My sister, Hyunwoo confirmed. Tae-sung was my brother-in-law. The children he died protecting were my niece and nephew. Bora is 7 years old. Sungmin is 5. They watched you kill their father. Vralketh took a step backward. His crew was already near the door, but he was still in the middle of the room. Too far from safety, too close to the human. I have been looking for you, Hyunwoo said, for 3 months, following your jobs, tracking your movements, waiting. Drek grabbed Vralketh's arm again. Boss, we need to leave right now. But Vralketh's pride was still in control. He had built his reputation on being feared, on being strong. He could not run from one human, no matter what planet that human was from. You want revenge? Vralketh snarled. Fine, but look around you, human. I have 6 crew members here. You are alone. You are small. You think because you are from Earth that makes you special? That makes you dangerous? I have killed humans before. I can kill another. Hyunwoo slowly walked out from behind the bar. He was not tall, not like Vralketh. He was not heavily muscled. He did not look particularly dangerous. He looked like what he was, a tired man in his mid-30s who had been pouring drinks for 6 months. But something about the way he moved made the mercenaries nervous. It was too smooth, too controlled, like a predator that had been pretending to be prey. You did not survive Earth, Hyunwoo said quietly. You raided an undefended colony of farmers and ran away. You killed people who could not fight back and called yourself a warrior. You are not a survivor. You are a coward. Vralketh's eyes went wide with rage. What did you call me? A coward, Hyunwoo repeated. And a liar. And a murderer. I am going to tear you apart, Vralketh growled. You can try, Hyunwoo said. Vralketh's hand went to his plasma pistol. Hyunwoo moved. What happened next would be talked about in bars across the sector for years to come. Hyunwoo closed the distance between himself and Vralketh before the mercenary's pistol cleared its holster. One moment the human was standing still. The next moment he was moving, faster than should have been possible for someone his size. Vralketh was a veteran fighter. He had survived dozens of battles. His reflexes were enhanced with military-grade implants, but he was too slow. The human was already inside his reach, one hand clamping down on the wrist holding the pistol, the other driving up into Vralketh's throat. The Crithian gagged, stumbling backward. His other 3 hands came up, claws extended, swiping at where Hyunwoo had been. But the human was no longer there. He had dropped low, sweeping Vralketh's legs out from under him. The 8-foot mercenary crashed to the floor, shaking the entire bar. "Get him!" Vralketh choked out. His crew rushed forward. 6 trained mercenaries against 1 bartender. It should have been easy. It was not easy. Drek came in first, drawing a vibro knife. Hyunwoo did not try to dodge. Instead, he stepped into the attack, catching Drek's wrist and twisting. There was a wet crack as something broke. Drek screamed and dropped the knife. Hyunwoo caught it before it hit the floor and threw it. The blade buried itself in a wooden support beam across the room. A massive Urgoth, a species known for thick armor plating and incredible strength, grabbed Hyunwoo from behind in a bear hug. The creature's arms were like steel cables, crushing. It would have broken a normal person's ribs in seconds. Hyunwoo drove his head backward, smashing it into the Urgoth's face. Once, twice, 3 times. The Urgoth's grip loosened. Hyunwoo twisted free, grabbed one of the creature's arms and used its own momentum to throw it over his hip. The Urgoth flew through the air and crashed through a table. 2 more crew members came at him together, trying to flank him. Hyunwoo grabbed a metal bar stool and used it as a shield, blocking a plasma shot that would have burned through his chest. The stool glowed red-hot where the plasma hit it. Hyunwoo spun and threw the stool at one attacker, then dove at the other. They went down in a tangle of limbs. The mercenary was larger and stronger, but Hyunwoo fought with brutal efficiency. Elbow to the throat, knee to the ribs, thumb to the eye. Nothing fancy, just damage. The mercenary went limp. A bottle smashed against Hyunwoo's shoulder, spraying high-proof alcohol everywhere. He rolled to his feet, ignoring the pain. Another mercenary was grabbing more bottles from behind the bar, throwing them. Hyunwoo picked up a chair and used it to bat the bottles away. 1 bottle shattered near a light fixture. The alcohol caught fire from the heat, creating a curtain of flame. Hyunwoo did not hesitate. He ran through the fire, emerged on the other side with his clothes smoking, and tackled the bottle thrower. They crashed into the bar itself, and the wooden structure cracked under the impact. From her corner, Jihai was recording everything. Her hands were steady, her face expressionless. She had seen humans fight before, but this was something else. This was what humans could do when they stopped holding back, when they remembered that they evolved on a death world, when they fought not for money or glory but for family. Vralketh was back on his feet now, his throat bruised but his pride hurt worse. He picked up a fallen plasma rifle and fired. The shot went wide as Hyunwoo threw himself to the side, rolling behind an overturned table. The plasma burned a hole in the wall, missing him by inches. "You cannot win," Vralketh shouted. "You are just one human." Hyunwoo did not answer. He grabbed a bottle from a shelf, the kind filled with Zenthari whiskey that could melt plastic. He ripped a piece of cloth from his shirt, stuffed it in the bottle, and touched it to the burning puddle of alcohol on the floor. The cloth caught fire. "Just one human," Hyunwoo agreed and threw the bottle. It was a perfect throw, arcing through the air like a small comet. Vralketh tried to shoot it, but his aim was off. The bottle smashed at his feet and flames exploded outward. Vralketh jumped back with a scream, his scales singed. The last 2 crew members who were still conscious looked at each other, then at their boss, then at the human who was standing in the middle of a destroyed bar, breathing hard but still upright despite wounds that should have dropped him. They ran. Smart choice. Now it was just Vralketh and Hyunwoo. The mercenary and the bartender. The alien who had bragged about surviving Earth and the human who actually came from there. You are insane," Vralketh panted. "No sane being fights like this. You hurt my family," Hyunwoo said simply. "Sanity has nothing to do with it." Vralketh fired the plasma rifle again. This time Hyunwoo could not dodge in time. The shot caught him in the side, burning through his shirt and scorching his skin. The smell of burned flesh filled the air. Hyunwoo looked down at the wound. It was bad. It should have dropped him. Should have made him scream. Instead, he just looked back up at Vralketh with those cold eyes. "That hurt," he said quietly. Then he charged. Vralketh fired again, but his hands were shaking. The shot went wide. Hyunwoo was on him before he could fire a third time. 4 fists against 2, claws against skin, alien strength against human determination. The fight was brutal and short. Hyunwoo took hits that would have killed smaller species. A claw raked across his chest, opening deep cuts. A punch to his jaw snapped his head back, but he kept coming, kept hitting, kept pushing forward because that was what humans did. They endured. They survived. They refused to quit. Vralketh's strikes became desperate, sloppy. Hyunwoo's remained precise. A strike to the knee and Vralketh stumbled. A punch to the throat and he gagged. A kick to the chest and he went down. Hyunwoo stood over him, blood running down his face, his shirt torn and burned, wounds covering his body. But he was still standing, still conscious, still dangerous. You wanted to know about surviving Earth? Hyunwoo said, his voice rough but steady. It is not about the gravity, not about the weather, not about the animals. Earth is a death world because of us, because humans do not quit. We do not surrender. We do not forgive. He reached down and grabbed Vralketh's communicator from his belt. With a few quick taps, he made a call. This is Hyunwoo, he said into the device. I found him. New coordinates transmitting now. Send Marshal Dong-hyun. Vralketh's eyes went wide with new fear. Marshal? Terran Justice Division? You thought I was alone? Hyunwoo said. Nobody is ever alone. Humans are everywhere. We look after each other. On the other side of the bar, Ji-hai stood up. She tapped her recording device and a small light blinked. Upload complete. The fight had been captured in full detail. By morning, every mercenary network in 3 sectors would have seen it. Vralketh the Earthbreaker, beaten by a single human bartender. His reputation was destroyed. His lies exposed. Everyone would know the truth now. The door to the bar opened. A man walked in, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing the distinctive armor of the Terran Frontier Justice Division. Marshal Dong-hyun. Behind him came a woman, Su-min, carrying a medical kit and evidence collection gear. Hyunwoo, Dong-hyun said, looking around at the destroyed bar. You could not wait for us? He confessed, Hyunwoo said. To everything. New Busan, the civilians, all of it. Ji-hai recorded it. Ji-hai held up her device. Every word, every detail. Admissible in any council court. Dong-hyun looked down at Vralketh, who was trying to crawl away with 3 broken arms. Vralketh of the Krithian Dominion, you are under arrest for the murder of civilians, raiding a protected colony, and war crimes under Galactic Council law. This is not fair. Vralketh moaned. He attacked me. It was self-defense. You bragged about killing civilians, Dong-hyun said coldly, in front of witnesses, while armed, after we have been tracking you for 3 months. That is not self-defense. That is justice. Su-min moved through the destroyed bar with practiced efficiency, her scanner humming as it recorded evidence. She stepped over unconscious mercenaries, documented the weapons scattered across the floor, and collected samples from the scorch marks and blood spatters. Every detail would be used in the trial. You are hurt, she said to Hyunwoo without looking up from her work. I will live, he replied. That plasma burn needs treatment. She glanced at him, her expression professional but concerned. It is a 3rd-degree burn. You should be screaming. I have had worse, she did not argue. She knew his military record. They had served together years ago before they both left active duty. Before they both tried to find peace on the frontier. Some wounds ran deeper than burns. Marshal Dong-hyun was securing restraints on Vralketh. The mercenary was conscious but in shock. 3 of his forearms were broken, along with several ribs, his jaw, and possibly his skull. For a member of the Krithian species known for their durability, it was an impressive amount of damage. You really did a number on him, Dong-hyun observed, and his crew. They hurt my family, Hyunwoo said, as if that explained everything. It did. Dong-hyun finished with the restraints and stood, looking around at the other mercenaries. Drek was conscious, cradling his broken wrist and whimpering. The Urgoth was groaning, trying to sit up. The others were still unconscious or had fled. All of them had been taken down by a single human who was supposed to be a civilian now. The recording Ji-hai provided is very thorough, Dong-hyun said. We have Vralketh confessing to the New Busan raid. We have him describing the deaths in detail. We have him laughing about it. The council prosecutors will love this. Good, Hyunwoo said. But it also shows you attacking him. Self-defense. He drew his weapon first. That is what the recording shows, yes, Dong-hyun agreed. Lucky for you. Otherwise this would be complicated. They both knew it was not luck. Hyunwoo had waited, controlled himself until Vralketh made the first move. He had fought within the law, barely. Years of military discipline had taught him patience. The frontier had taught him restraint. But his family had taught him loyalty. Ji-hai approached them, her recording device safely stored. The upload finished 10 minutes ago. By now, half the sector has seen it. By tomorrow, everyone will know. Know what? Vralketh groaned from the floor. That you are a liar, Ji-hai said simply. You called yourself the Earthbreaker. You bragged about surviving Earth, about fighting humans. But you only attacked civilians, farmers. And when you faced an actual human, a retired soldier working as a bartender, you lost. Badly. That is not... Vralketh tried to protest. The recording does not lie, Ji-hai continued. Everyone saw. Your reputation is finished. No mercenary company will hire you. No crew will follow you. The name Vralketh will be a joke. A warning. A lesson about what happens when you attack humans and then brag about it. Vralketh's eyes filled with something that might have been tears, if Krithians could cry. His reputation had been everything. It was how he got jobs, how he commanded respect, how he survived in the brutal world of mercenary work. Now it was gone, destroyed in one night by his own arrogance. Why? He asked weakly, looking up at Hyunwoo. Why did you wait? Why did you not just kill me? You could have. You wanted to. I could see it in your eyes. Hyunwoo was silent for a moment, his hand pressed against the plasma burn on his side. Suman had given him a temporary patch, but it still hurt. Everything hurt. But pain was temporary. Justice was forever. Because killing you would have been easy, Hyunwoo said finally. Quick, merciful even. You do not deserve mercy. You deserve to face trial. You deserve to have everyone know what you really are. You deserve to spend the rest of your life in a council prison, knowing that you threw everything away because you could not keep your mouth shut. He crouched down, getting closer to Vralketh's eye level. And because my niece and nephew need to know that justice exists, Hyunwoo continued. They need to know that their father's death mattered, that there are laws, that bad people get punished. If I just killed you here, what would that teach them? That violence is the only answer? No, they have seen enough violence. Dong-hyun nodded approvingly. Well said. Besides, Hyunwoo added, standing back up, a dead mercenary is just a dead mercenary. But a captured one, a humiliated one who everyone knows attacked civilians and then got beaten by a single human, that sends a message. What message? Vralketh asked. Do not touch humans, Hyunwoo said coldly. Do not attack our colonies. Do not hurt our families. Because we will find you. We might be scattered across the galaxy. We might look like civilians, like bartenders and farmers and teachers. But we remember. We protect our own, and we never ever forgive. More Terran Justice Division officers arrived along with medical personnel. They began processing the scene, treating the wounded mercenaries, collecting evidence. The bar owner appeared, looked at the destruction, looked at Hyunwoo, and just sighed. You are fired, he said without real anger. Understood, Hyunwoo replied. But the marshal is paying for damages? The division will cover it, Dong-hyun confirmed. This was an official investigation. The owner nodded and walked away, already calculating costs. Suman was still working on Hyunwoo's injuries, forcing him to sit while she properly treated the plasma burn. It was worse than it looked, which meant it was very bad. But he would heal. Humans always healed given time. You know, she said quietly. You could have called us sooner. We were 15 minutes away. You did not need to fight him alone. Yes, I did, Hyunwoo said. She looked at him, understanding in her eyes. For Taesung. For Taesung, he agreed. He stood alone. He fought alone. He died alone, protecting his family. I needed to face the one who killed him alone. Did it help? Hyunwoo thought about that. Did revenge help? Did justice? He did not know. Taesung was still dead. Heejin was still a widow. Bora and Sungmin were still without a father. Nothing Hyunwoo did tonight would change that. But maybe, just maybe, they could sleep a little easier knowing that the monster who killed their husband and father was going to prison. Maybe that counted for something. It helped, he said finally. Dong-hyun was overseeing the removal of the prisoners. Vrelketh was on a stretcher now, restrained and sedated. His crew was being loaded into transport vehicles. They would all face trial. The evidence was overwhelming. The recording was clear. Justice would be served. "We have been tracking Vrelketh for 3 months," Dong-hyun said to Hyunwoo, following his movements, documenting his crimes. "We were building a case, a solid case. But we needed him to confess. We needed proof of intent. You gave us that." "I did not do it for your case," Hyunwoo said. "I know, but it helped anyway." Dong-hyun paused. "The division could use someone like you. We need people on the frontier. People who understand these colonies. People who will protect them." "I am done fighting," Hyunwoo said. "You just fought 6 mercenaries. That was personal." Dong-hyun smiled slightly. "Everything is personal out here. Think about it. The offer stands." He walked away to supervise his team, leaving Hyunwoo sitting on a broken bar stool in the middle of a destroyed bar, his body aching, his hands shaking with delayed adrenaline. Ji-hai sat down next to him. "You did good," she said. "I destroyed a bar. You caught a killer. You got justice for New Busan. You sent a message that will protect other colonies." She looked at him. "You did good." Hyunwoo did not answer. He was thinking about Hyejin, about how he would tell her, about Bora and Sungmin, about Taesung who would never see his children grow up. Justice was not enough, but it was something. It was all he could give them. 2 days later, Hyunwoo stood in the communications center of the Terran Justice Division station, waiting for the connection to stabilize. His ribs were taped. His burns were healing under medical gel. His hands were steady as he entered his sister's contact information. The screen flickered, and then Hyejin's face appeared. She looked tired. She always looked tired now. The lines around her eyes had not been there before Taesung died. Grief aged people in ways that time alone never could. "Hyunwoo," she said, and tried to smile. "It is good to see you." "It is good to see you too," he replied. "How are the children?" "They are okay. Bora asks about you. She wants to know when you are visiting." Hyejin paused. "She still has nightmares." "I know. Sungmin does not talk about it. He just draws pictures. Always the same picture. A man with 4 arms. Her voice cracked slightly. "He is 5 years old. He should be drawing flowers and ships, not monsters." Hyunwoo took a breath. "I have news. About the raid. About the mercenaries." Hyejin went very still. "What news?" "We found them. The Terran Justice Division arrested their leader 2 days ago. He is in custody. They all are. They will face trial." Tears started running down Hyejin's face. She did not make a sound, but her shoulders shook. "Are you sure?" "Are you absolutely sure it is them?" "I am sure," he confessed. "We have recordings, evidence, everything." "How?" she asked. "How did you find them?" The marshal said it would take time, that they might never be caught. Hyunwoo considered lying, considered making it simple. But Hyejin deserved the truth. "He came to a bar where I was working. He was bragging about the raid, about killing Taesung, about how dangerous Earth is." He paused. "He did not know I was human, did not know I was from New Busan, did not know Taesung was my brother." Hyejin's eyes widened. "You were there? You heard him?" "I heard everything." "What did you do?" "I made sure he could not hurt anyone else," Hyunwoo said carefully. Hyejin looked at him for a long moment. She knew her brother, knew what he had been before he became a bartender, knew what he was capable of when someone hurt his family. "Is he alive?" "Yes, broken but alive. He will stand trial." "Good," she said fiercely. "I want him to face justice. I want everyone to know what he did. I want his name destroyed. I want him to spend the rest of his life in a cell thinking about Taesung, about all the people he killed." "That is what will happen," Hyunwoo assured her. They talked for a few more minutes, about the colony, about rebuilding, about how the Terran government was sending more security, more resources, more protection. New Busan would never be undefended again. That was some comfort, at least. "Can I tell the children?" Hyejin asked. "That the bad man is caught?" "Yes, tell them. Tell them their father's sacrifice mattered. Tell them justice exists. Will you visit soon?" "Soon," Hyunwoo promised. "I have some things to finish here first, but soon." After the call ended, Hyunwoo sat in the empty communications room for a while. Marshal Dong-hyun found him there an hour later. Vralketh's trial starts next week, Donghyun said. The council prosecutors are confident. Between the recording, the physical evidence, and his crew members testifying against him to reduce their sentences, he has no defense. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. How long is a Krithian lifespan? Hyunwoo asked. About 200 years. He's 43. Good. Donghyun sat down across from him. The recording went viral. You have seen the numbers? Hyunwoo shook his head. He had been avoiding the networks. Over 10 million views in 48 hours. It is spreading across every mercenary channel, every frontier station, every colony network. Everyone has seen Vralketh bragging about killing civilians. Everyone has seen him losing to a single human. The commentary is interesting. Interesting how? People are scared, Donghyun said bluntly. Not of Vralketh, of humans. They are remembering that we come from Earth, that we are not soft just because we are nice, that there are millions of us scattered across the galaxy and we protect our own. Good, Hyunwoo said. Maybe it will make them think twice before raiding human colonies. It already has. We have seen a 40% drop in reported attacks on human settlements since the recording was posted. Pirates are avoiding ships with human crew. Mercenaries are refusing jobs that target human interests. Donghyun smiled slightly. You did more to protect human colonies in one night than the last year of patrols did. I just wanted justice for my family, and you got it. But you also sent a message, a clear, unmistakable message. Do not mess with humans. Donghyun leaned forward. My offer still stands. The division needs people like you, people who understand the frontier, people who will stand up when civilians are threatened. We have resources, authority. We can make a real difference out here. Hyunwoo was quiet for a long time. I told you. I am done fighting. This is not fighting. This is protecting. There is a difference. Is there? You tell me. When you faced Vralketh, were you fighting? Or were you protecting Bora and Sungmin? Protecting every other child in every other colony who might have been his next victim? Hyunwoo did not have an answer for that. 3 weeks later, Hyunwoo walked through the rebuilt sections of New Busan Station. The colony had changed. There were more guards now, walls where there had been open spaces, cameras and sensors everywhere. The price of safety was paranoia, it seemed, but there were also gardens, playgrounds, life continuing. People rebuilding. That was the thing about humans. They endured. They adapted. They moved forward, carrying their grief but not letting it stop them. Hee-jin met him at the entrance to her home. She looked better. Still tired, still grieving, but there was something else in her eyes now. Hope, maybe. Or at least the memory of it. Uncle Hyunwoo. Bora came running, crashing into his legs with the force of a small comet. She was 7 years old, all energy and noise and life. You came. You actually came. Sungmin followed more slowly, still cautious. He held a drawing in his hands, but this time it was not a monster. It was a person. A man standing tall. Daddy, Sungmin said quietly, showing the picture. Marshall said the bad man is in jail. He cannot hurt anyone now. That is right, Hyunwoo said, kneeling down to his nephew's level. He is locked away. He cannot hurt anyone. Ever again. Did you help catch him? Bora asked. Hyunwoo glanced at Hee-jin, who nodded slightly. Yes, I helped. Good, Bora said fiercely. She sounded so much like her mother. He was bad. Daddy was good. Good should win. It does not always, Hyunwoo said honestly. But when it can, we make sure it does. That is what family does. We protect each other. They went inside, had dinner, talked about small things, the new school, the new neighbors, the plans to expand the colony, normal things, human things, life continuing in the face of tragedy. Later, after the children were asleep, Hyunwoo and Hee-jin sat on the porch, looking up at the stars. Thank you, she said quietly, for finding him, for stopping him. I am your brother. It is what I do. Are you going back to bartending? Hyunwoo thought about Donghyun's offer, about the justice division, about protection versus revenge, about fighting versus defending. No, I think I am done with bartending too. What will you do? Something that matters, he said. Something that helps. Hee-jin looked at him and understood. The marshal's offer? Yes. Will it be dangerous? Probably. Will you be careful? Always, she took his hand. Taesung would have liked that. You protecting others. making sure what happened to us does not happen to other families. They sat in silence for a while, two humans on a frontier colony under alien stars, surrounded by the sound of life rebuilding itself. Across the galaxy, in bars and stations and ships, people were still talking about the recording, about the human bartender and the alien mercenary, about Earth and Death worlds and the danger of underestimating humans. The story was spreading, changing, becoming legend, but the real story was simpler. It was about family, about love, about the lengths people would go to protect those they cared about justice hard-won and necessary, about the truth that humans, for all their kindness and civilization, were still the children of Earth, still survivors, still dangerous when pushed. The message was clear. The lesson was learned. And across the frontier, those who preyed on the weak began to think twice before targeting humans. Because you never knew which bartender, which farmer, which teacher might be the one who remembered, who watched, who would come for you. The humans were everywhere, and they protected their own.